They say your early life romance came.
Hey, what's up guys? So tonight we are going to be doing a little bit of cutting and dissection of a couple of GDI pumps for the Hyundai 2.0 turbo. So we've got the standard 2.0 turbo chucked up in the vise. This is like on your Veloster N, and then we've got the upgraded pump back here for the Veloster N. I'm gonna show you the quickest and easiest way to add like 20-25 horsepower worth of fuel, and then I'm gonna explain it a little bit. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so what we have here is we've got the GDI fuel pump out of the Veloster N. And what I wanna show you is this is your high pressure side, this is your low pressure side, this is a low pressure inlet. So I would put the camera over the top of it, but it's not gonna make sense. So I'm just gonna get going on what you need to do. First off, I'm going to explain what's going on. Inside of the end of this fuel pump for the low pressure side, there's a fuel strainer, a little tiny fuel like injector basket filter. So a lot of people say don't pull the filter basket out because if you get debris, if you get debris all the way up your fuel pump, you got a whole lot of other problems than worrying about your fuel pump. Okay, so this is what I would recommend if you want to get the extra horsepower. You don't want to spend the whatever $500 on the new pump or $700 on the new pump. You are going to want to remove this filter, because this filter we have proven is good for about 25, maybe 30 horsepower. And let me explain why, and I'm going to show you how to remove it. So you take a little sheet metal type wood screw, right? Put it in the end. You screw it in until it engages into the plastic. So it's in, it's pretty tight. Take yourself a pair of snips, grab the screw, and just give it a little tap. Okay, I'm gonna try to get this, actually I'm not gonna take this off the end. I'm gonna show this to you guys. Okay, I'm gonna try to put this where you can see it, and then try to zoom in. You know what, I'm just gonna hold it. The camera's gonna get all blurry. Okay. There you see. See if I can get my hand up in front of it so it'll focus. Okay, there we go. Okay, you see that? See that little basket? Okay. This is, well, a restriction. This little tiny basket feeds into the top of here. They've got some grooves down the side. I am going to try to I'm going to try to pull this off of here so you guys can see what's going on. Okay. Alright, so this is just a little tiny, itsy, bitsy type gasket, or sorry, strainer for the gas. Okay, there's 3 sides to it. The bottom's completely sealed, as you can see. I don't know if you guys can see that, I'm sorry. So the bottom is completely sealed. So essentially what's happening here is all the fuel coming into the fuel pump has to come in on 3 filtered strainer slash filter sides. Okay, by removing this, the GDI pump can fill the head. This is the head of the pump where all the low pressure fuel comes in. All the low pressure fuel comes in, goes in through a port. The high pressure pump compresses it. It turns around, comes back out into a smaller chamber inside this solid body, and then comes out of, well, it actually passes through a check valve and then comes out through the high side. If you can hold a higher sustained volume in the head of the fuel pump, in this section here of low pressure fuel, the high pressure side will be able to pull from a higher constant of steady pressure, flow, volume, etc., etc. Now I do have the upgraded pump sitting back here, and we're going to put that up in the vise here in just a second, and I'm going to show you some differences. So if you're looking, if you're looking to max out, you know, your current setup and you're worried about fuel, in your Veloster N, this is a pretty straightforward and easy process to get, to get taken care of. Now you want to make sure, okay, so right around this edge, this hole opening, you want to make sure that it stays nice and round. When I put that screw in, I didn't mess it up, but it's not quite round. So you're going to take a hammer and just lightly tap on it so it's nice and round, has a nice bevel all the way around. Make sure there's no sharp edges. Clean it with a rag, because your factory fuel line does need to slip back over this, and if there's a lip here, one of the O-rings inside the factory fuel line can be damaged. All right, now let's talk about fuel pump internals. So I'm going to knock this out of the vise. Okay, so there is your standard fuel pump. Here is the upgrade. Okay, the upgrade also has, I'm not sure if you can see that, nice and blurry for you. Come on camera, focus. Kinda, you see that little gold ring in there? Okay, that's the same filter that was in the Veloster N pump that we just removed. So if you want to remove that out of your new pump, you can. But that's not what we're here to talk about, okay? I'm gonna get the camera a little bit more. There we go, we good? We're good, all right. Actually gotta just pan that out a little bit. Okay. So tonight, I decided, let's figure out what the true differences are between these two pumps. Now, I don't know if anyone's done this, but I decided to go through and physically cut up two $500 fuel pumps. This one got a little crazy in the vise. You can see, sorry, in the lathe, you can see it was, the flanges are kind of bent, got away from me. But we got it figured out, we got them both cut apart. So, if you've never seen the inside of a GDI pump, now you get to see. It's just a piston that goes inside of a compression chamber. It's going to be kind of hard to see in there, I'm sorry. So inside there you got a little compression chamber, okay? And this piston goes up and down inside there, generates pressure. That's not what's important here tonight. What's important here tonight is to see what the differences are. Okay, so I pulled out a set of calipers earlier. I measured this piston diameter, okay? This piston diameter is 8.9 millimeter. Actually 8.90 millimeter, right on the dot. So, oh, look at that, cut apart this pump. Okay, that piston is 9.90 millimeter. So what you're paying for when you get these two pumps, I'm gonna put these up side by side. Okay, kind of hard to see. You can kind of see the differences. Like I says, I'm trying to get it in the camera as best I can so you guys can see what's going on. Maybe if I go head to head, it shows a little bit better of difference. So what you're getting is 1 millimeter of pump piston diameter increase. Again, we still have the restriction here, all right? I'm gonna pull this off to the side, and we're gonna pull this out of this brand new pump. Clamp down the vise. You can still see that, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do this again. I haven't pulled one out of the new pumps yet. I haven't seen the filter in a new pump, so I'm not 100% sure what they look like. I've already lost the other filter, so they're small, they disappeared for, oh, there it is. So I want to see what the differences are between these two, if there are any differences. So again, we're just going to take the sheet metal screw, a screwdriver, screw it in. You feel it start to get tight once it's nice and snug. Again, take your needle nose pliers, a hammer, and just strike right next to it. Oh, well, hidey ho. They are ever so slightly different. All right, so surprisingly enough, this one is a little bit different. Now, it's going to be really hard to see the differences in the camera. I mean, maybe I should move it over to macro or take some pictures or something like that, but I'll try to get it pulled apart here. Okay, the very first thing I see, okay, when I look at it, is the actual plastic the actual plastic. Oh man, this isn't going to be easy. Look, no, these things are so small. So the actual plastic in the physical sides appears to be just ever so slightly thinner in the upgraded pump. And I believe this is a Tucson or Santa Fe. I don't remember what pump this is. Here, let's do this really quick. Part number. Oh, what do we got? We got a 35 320 2 Gamma Hotel Alpha 1 I? What should be a 1. So that's the upgraded pump. That's really quick. I'll pull this one. So, well, you guys probably only cared about the part number on the upgraded pump, but the factory pump is the 35 320 2G. What's G? Help me here, guys. 2 Gary Tango Alpha 0. Okay, so those are two different part numbers, but again, the differences. So in the ends, and it's really hard to see, but in the ends, the plastic ends, the one that came out of the upgraded pump is ever so slightly smaller. I'm kind of surprised to see that. Actually, it's like looking at them, not that you can tell in the video because it's too far away, but looking at them, it's obvious when they're side by side. Yeah, it is. It's definitely smaller. Filter heights appear to be the same. Diameters appear to be, very similar. So the area that it necks down to and the little side ribs in the side on the upgraded one do appear to be a tiny bit thinner. Sorry you can't really see that. Like I said, if I have to, I can get in here and take some pictures. So, what do we got going on here? What are you paying for when you get an upgraded part number pump? Well, initially you're obviously paying for the bigger piston. The springs and everything, when I measured them in the stack height and whatnot, I got a spring right here. So when we measured them, they all measured out the same. There was no drastic differences in them. I'm trying to put this one back together because it popped apart when it was in the lathe. I'll deal with that later. Okay, so the differences are the 1 millimeter increase. Now, what's 1 millimeter? 8.9 to 9.9 millimeter. Somebody quick with math. What? 9.2%. So it's roughly about a 9. We'll just say 9.5% increase in diameter. Now, was that directly relate to a 10% increase in fuel? No, it doesn't. GDI pumps don't work that way. GDI systems don't work that way. It's going to build more pressure. I'm sure there's something with Pascal's law here that somebody can go through and update me on or give me some details on how it's going to work more effectively. But control valves are the same. Outlet diameters are the same. So both have the same outlet on them for pump delivery for the high pressure side. There's really not anything drastically different between the two pumps other than the two piston diameters. Now, inside, again, you can't see inside, but when you look down inside, you can take some bore pins or some pin gauges, and you can go through and measure the openings that are inside these pumps. They're all the same. Essentially, these are the exact same pump, and if you want to look at it, you can see how this side here has a thicker wall on this pump. You see how the wall on the sleeve inside the pump is thicker than this one? They're probably just taking this pump, boring it out to that size and putting a different part number on it. So, free fuel upgrade. Okay, this is not the critical flaw that I've been talking about. Okay, this is just pulling this filter out of these fuel pumps, the strainer filter, basket filter. That is a restriction that, like I said, I have measured, I've seen it on the dyno. We were down at 330 horsepower with one of our test cars. We were struggling and we were like, we got to figure something out. We started seeing fuel drop off, fuel pressure drop. And on my Stinger, I did this exact same mod and it helped drastically. So I figured, well, might as well try it on the Veloster N. Veloster N, it gave us a lot of headroom. No more pressure drop up to about 343 horsepower, I think is what we ended up making. And we never saw any pressure drop at all. So I haven't tested it out to like 370 or something of that nature. I have to assume that it is enough of a restriction to slow things down. On the new upgraded pump, I have no idea how much that's going to help. Going through and pulling that little basket filter out could be, you know, you set you at, what do they make it over in Korea? 400 without methanol on this pump. So I'd have to 450. I was just spitballing. Let's do some bench racing here. You know, let's see if we can get a car in the shop here and we can do some testing where we would pull this out and we put it on the dyno and see if we can max out a upgraded pump on maybe a new Elantra or a new Kona. So with that being said, this is the first stage of fuel pump teardown disassembly diagnostics. I don't know, what do you guys want to call this? You know, getting the bare bones of this for the N community. I do want to emphasize that on these two pumps, I cut both these up on just out of sheer knowledge, wanting to know what was happening inside of them, wanting to test some different ideas, get the actual piston sizes and stuff like that. Nobody asked me to do this. I am doing this for the community. There's been a lot of not so nice things that have been said lately. I'm not even gonna get into calling names, pointing anything out, but I'm gonna keep doing this for you guys. I'm gonna keep doing small things like this where I can show those weaknesses. I can tell you right now that inside the fuel system, from the fuel pump to the injectors, there's another weakness. It's actually a critical restriction that we will be discussing in another video. But right now in this video, you get to see what you can do to your current pump to get more volume out of it. And then you get to look at the different diameters of the two pumps. Again, I don't know if anyone's done that. And lastly, if somebody is really wanting to test something out on the new pump, they can go through and pull that filter and see if it gives you any more headroom, tuners, for making more power. Okay guys, again, stay tuned. I got more coming. You know, you can hit the subscribe button, you can hit the like button, you can leave me a nasty message. I really don't care. You do you, but just let me know that you appreciate what we're doing for you guys and getting this kind of content out for you. Thanks a lot, guys.